Pilgrims, Michael Matt here, your chef de groupe on this year's 2022 Chartres pilgrimage from Paris to Chartres. Now, I've got to be honest with you, I have been organizing this chapter for 30 years, but we've never tried something like this. This is all very last minute. I have no idea who I'm talking to at the moment because people have been signing up from all over the place. We're going to be a chapter of about 70 this year, which is a pretty good number, but you're all coming from different places. So this is new for me, it's new for you, and I wanted to just talk briefly with you today so that you know what to expect because it's really, really necessary. As you know, we decided to throw this together at the last minute because I don't like being pushed around by globalists, and if there was any chance of us going back into Chartres, I knew we had to seize that chance. You don't know what's going to be happening next year. And I'm really, really happy that you decided to join us on this sort of visit back behind enemy lines to make this thing happen. So what the problem is, I don't have an opportunity to get to know you. We usually have a meeting on Friday night before the pilgrimage so we can go over everything so that you're completely ready, you know what to expect, no problem. I need you to go to chartrespilgrimageusa.com, right? .com.
Yeah.
There's what to expect list, there's what to pack. You got to pack right. You got to do this right because it's very difficult if you overpack, and you'll see why in a moment. We'll talk about that. But again, I wanted to talk to you tonight just as we've always talked in Paris the night before the pilgrimage so that this is for your benefit, so you know what to expect. Because quite frankly, the first year that I did this 30 years ago, nobody took the time to do what I'm going to do with you right now. And I was pretty upset. I was annoyed. I was surprised by how difficult it was. I felt ill-prepared. I felt like we were the first U.S. chapter in the history of the pilgrimage, so I don't blame the French. But they had not really taken any time to tell us what to expect. And I need you to, if you'll forgive me, I need you to listen up here and make sure you follow what I'm saying if you don't want to have a really bad experience on this pilgrimage. I want this to be the best pilgrimage, the best memory you'll ever have. But there's a few things that we got to talk about. Before I forget, if you're going into Paris, you still have to wear a face mask. So all of you, make sure you pack a face mask. I'm sorry, but if you're on trains, taxis, whatever in Paris, they're gonna be expecting that. So we're gonna take a few measures like that. So again, what we're going to talk about this is what I've said every year for 30 years. The night before the pilgrimage, you know what I say to pilgrims, especially the first timers. Obviously, I make one key point. And that is the Chartres pilgrimage is difficult. Let me say that again. It is not easy. I played football in college and, was fairly athletic over the course of my life. And I can tell you, the Chartres pilgrimage is the most taxing thing I've ever done. Part of it is just the emotional fatigue. You got 3 days of walking. You're going to get up, walk 10, 11 hours per day. We just don't do that on a regular basis. So you don't really know what to anticipate or how difficult it is. If somebody tells you, well, it's just walking, it can't be that tough. Please don't let that get in your mind. And if I overstate now how difficult it is, fine, no problem. But if I understate it and you're taken off guard, it can really ruin this really wonderful, powerful experience. So I would say just anticipate a challenge, a physical and a mental challenge. Also anticipate one of the most wonderful, awesome experiences of your life. But if you're ready for this, it's going to be much more doable, much better for you. I only want to mention that you got to take care of your feet. You got to make sure you have the right boots, the right socks, the right sock liners. First time I did this, I did it in sneakers and cotton socks, and I almost lost my feet. So you have to do this right. There's a product called Desitin. I strongly recommend that for chafing. Right now, you might be laughing at me thinking you're not going to need a baby diaper rash preventative on the pilgrimage at your age. Can't tell you how many times I've told people, bring the Desitin. It's like Body Glide, but it's Desitin. It's easier to get. And halfway through the pilgrimage, people who laughed at me when I first recommended this stuff for chafing limp up to me and ask me to borrow the Desitin, especially if it's hot and you're sweaty or if we get rain. You need to prevent chafing on the inner thighs. And we'll talk about that when I see you. But make sure you have a tube of that stuff, because if you don't, it could knock you right out of the pilgrimage. Another thing, pack really light. It's important to get really good underwear. Go to an REI, an outfitter store, get an underwear that's a good choice. You can talk to people, tell them what you're going to do there. Make sure you get one that dries quickly, that's very absorbent. You don't want cotton. Cotton is your enemy. And then you want to make sure that you get off to a good start Saturday morning. So get to Saint-Sulpice on time, second largest church in Paris. where the pilgrimage will start, where the traditional Latin Mass will kick off the pilgrimage this year. You want to get there no later than 6:30, but I would recommend 6 o'clock. Get to Saint-Sulpice Saturday morning of the pilgrimage. First thing you want to do is you want to find the truck that says étranger. It looks like E-Trangers. A big sign over the back, étranger. So you get to Saint-Sulpice, you got your bags that you're going to need in the camps. You throw it on the back of that truck, étranger. That means foreigners. They'll take it out to the campsite. When we get there, one of the first things we'll do is we find the étranger truck again, and out behind that truck, the team will have loaded out all these suitcases, and yours will be among them. Very, very important. When you get to Saint-Sulpice and you get your bag checked onto the étranger truck, you have to know how to find me. You have to get into the right place in the line, in this 5 mile long line. So what you want to do is you want to look for that flag. It's going to be one just like that. See the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the Sacré-Cœur will be on the U.S. flag. I think there might be one other U.S. chapter, I'm not sure. So make sure you find this one. This flag, we'll have it high as we can get it. And the great big banner of, we'll throw that up on the screen, of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Couple notes for the chapter. We'll have our chaplains. We'll have at least one, probably two, maybe even three priests this year, so we're very blessed. Very important to follow the spiritual direction that Father Pendergraft, our chaplain, will be offering us as we go along. We need volunteers. We need 2 volunteers for the entire walk, from carrying the flag with the Sacré-Cœur on it, the U.S. flag, and carrying the banner of Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's an honor. And whoever carries it the longest, we kind of evaluate as we go along, will have the real great honor of actually being able to carry the flag and Our Lady of Guadalupe into the Chartres Cathedral. It's a beautiful procession that happens, and recession that happens on the 3rd day out at Chartres. But we have to have volunteers as we go along to make sure the flag and banner continue to go with us. As I said, we're going to be about 65 strong, and it's really important for me to emphasize this next point. The pilgrimage is extremely well run, but you won't always, especially as you get started, you won't understand how it runs. They will take care of you. They have hundreds and hundreds of nurses and doctors from the Knights of Malta who are going to be there taking care of everything from fatigue to blisters, sore calves, shin splints, whatever might happen. But it's important for you to understand, I, as the leader of the chapter, can't do a whole lot. Once we're all on this in the chapter and marching, because there's about 50, 60 people in each chapter, they spread out for 5 miles. If you have a problem, you have to trust the system. So I don't want you to be upset or very concerned if you have to fall back a little bit. The system will take care of you. The doctors and nurses are there to take care of you, and then we'll catch up with you at the next break or at lunch, or finally possibly in the evening at the camp if you have a long delay. No problem, just calm down. You're among fellow traditional Catholics. The system will take care of you. If you have some sort of a minor breakdown, you can't walk mid-afternoon, there are van services that will help you. They'll get on a van. I don't always know exactly where those vans are going to be because no one really knows. They just park them as needed. And you jump on the van and it takes you to the next rest stop. They don't take you all the way out to the camp. They just take you to the next rest stop. There are many rest stops along the way. It's very important that you drink water, that you have a personal water bottle on your person that you can refill. There's lots of water available, but you need to carry it and you need to drink it. Don't worry about the bathroom situation. You're going to be walking so much that almost miraculously you don't need to use the bathrooms that much. If you do need to use the bathrooms, they're everywhere. The porta potties are you're not going to have any trouble finding that. So don't panic about that. Very important to sing. We try to have a lively chapter. We also believe in conversation. You make friendships and alliances. You have great conversation. There's quiet time in the chapter. But if you could just do me the favor of cooperating, whatever's going on, just try to do what everybody else is doing as we go along to kind of make sure that everybody has a very rewarding, spiritually beneficial, good, peaceful, lovely pilgrimage. The spirit of the pilgrimage is Catholic through and through. The organization, Notre Dame de Chrétienté, has asked for modesty. You don't want to show up in short shorts and your halter top or whatever. It's very important that we dress modestly. There's people that are watching this pilgrimage, especially in Paris. Tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people are going to see this display of Catholicism going through Paris, such as people don't see very often. So we have an obligation and the honor of representing our country as traditional Catholics that are back on the move, back on the warpath, if you will, for the old faith. Priests are going to be falling behind for confessions periodically. This is not some Novus Ordo innovation. This is the way confessions were always taken care of on pilgrimage or during war times. You're moving troops. Priest falls behind, 20 feet behind the chapter. You just drop back. You confess. It's discreet. And that's the way it works. For the plenary indulgence, as Father will explain, it's important that you go to confession on the pilgrimage. I recommend that you get some snacks, some power bars in Paris before the pilgrimage, so you have a little backup in case you start getting lightheaded or something like that. And you'll definitely want to have food in your pack for the camp at night. Very technically, you can survive with what they provide. They give you soup and hot chocolate and coffee and all that sort of thing. I've done it once with only the food that's provided. I don't recommend it, so make sure you have jerky and things like that to bring with. Staying together is really important. I know it's hard, especially when we leave Paris. Please be expected for a pretty brisk pace leaving Paris. Remember, we got to get 5-6 mile column of people, of 10,000 people, through the city and out of the city as quickly as possible. So if you're suddenly feeling, oh my gosh, I had no idea this pilgrimage was going to be this quick, the pace, remember that's very important to get out of Paris, so we stay together and keep moving, but it doesn't stay that way. It gets easier as we move into the countryside. So I try to be a very, I don't want to bother you as the leader of your chapter. I don't want to necessarily be barking into the microphone the whole time, the megaphone. But if I do say pull together, please obey that, because I'm not just being a jerk. I know each chapter leader is responsible for keeping his chapter tight so that this thing doesn't spread out for another 10 miles down behind. Very important to keep moving. In the camps at night, it's very important if you're able, if you're not too exhausted, if you don't have blisters, to go down and see what happens. I tell you what, from speaking personally, 30 years doing this pilgrimage, some of my best memories of the pilgrimage are the beautiful things that happen in the camps at night, where they put displays, like historical displays, like the scouts and the young people. They go out and maybe they'll do a reenactment of the Vendée or something like that in the middle of the camp. Highly recommend this. They'll have exposition of the Blessed Sacrament on both nights. Take advantage of as much of this beautiful, this is old French culture, Catholic culture. Take advantage of it as much as you possibly can. At night, like I say, go down to the fire, go down to the exposition. You're never going to regret that, as difficult as it might be, because you're exhausted. You may have some blisters, and everything that you're doing, you're becoming a pilgrim. You're sort of like purging yourself of the things that maybe you're not that proud of, and you're making friendships and alliances as you walk along. You suffer together. You're sharing water bottles together. You're really having a Christendom moment where we're all together, building up to this great climax out at Chartres on Pentecost Monday. The Chenu, the procession, the just unbelievable experience of faith. And I'm not an overly emotional guy, but I would be very surprised, especially first-timers, if you're not overwhelmed by what happens at Chartres. But part of that has to do with what you've gone through, 3 days of walking, the friendships you've made, the thoughts that you've had, the religious instruction that you've had, and the suffering and the challenge and the mortification, the sacrifices that you've made, including in the camps at night. So be prepared for a difficult experience, but an incredibly rewarding experience. Be prepared to become now part of history. And that's what this is, especially when you think about what's happening in the Vatican with the crackdown on the Latin Mass. Be prepared to sort of immerse yourself in a holy Catholic counter-revolutionary event. Don't forget the beautiful thing that we're doing here together, the honor that we have before God to be part of this. And we'll talk all about this, but as you go into this, get a spiritual Catholic counter-revolutionary mentality going. This is not a parade. It's not just something for fun. It's not a marathon. In fact, some of you, many of you are probably going to have to take a van at some point because you're going to be physically exhausted, or you got the blisters or whatever. Everybody has to do that at some point. There's great grace involved in saying, well, I guess I'm going to have to take a few hours off. It's not a contest, in other words. So I just encourage you to have all those thoughts in mind as you get ready for this pilgrimage. So many beautiful things that are going to happen. So I would encourage you, again, go to chartpilgrimageusa.com right now. Check out all those lists of how to prepare. Make sure you pack right. You got that poncho, the water, the Desitin, the good smart wool socks, the hiking boots, which is what I recommend, to make sure that you do that right. And then we're just going to have a fantastic pilgrimage. And if you, like I say, if you have it in mind that you are going to be challenged, then nothing can go wrong for you, because if you're not challenged, you're going to say, well, that's pretty good. I did fine. If you are challenged, you're going to have mentally prepared for that, and you're going to have a much better experience. So give us a call, send us an email anytime, and we'll be happy to make sure you have a great time. So again, really look forward to meeting all of you. I think this is really exciting that in the post-COVID moment here, we're taking this chance together. I'm really honored to walk with you. And to go back behind the enemy lines into that sort of occupied territory to show the world that we're still here, traditionalism is still on the march, and that we're still going to serve God, Christ the King, and Our Lady, no matter what they try to do to shut us down. Thank you so much. Please spread this video around to anybody you know who's going on the pilgrimage so that we can all be on the same page Saturday morning for the kickoff of the great Notre Dame de Chrétienté pilgrimage from Paris to Chartres 2022, dedicated, by the way, to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. So this is going to be great. Thanks very much. God bless you. Safe travels. And we will see you at Saint-Sulpice in Paris next Saturday morning.